In this session, we will create a compute engine VM instance. We will install Apache web server into the VM instance. We will configure certain cloud firewall rules, which is allowing the traffic from internet to the port 80 HTTP port. And then finally, the users from the internet will be able to access the web server and web page. So this is what we are going to do. When we do this, we will explore certain other components as well related to Google Cloud. So now, first what I am going to do is I am going to create a VM, and I will be connecting to that VM using SSH, what is available in Google Cloud Console. So let me do that first. I'll create an instance. I given as a name as web-1. I am giving a predefined configuration what is available by default from the general purpose category. And I will scroll down. I am not going to configure the firewall at this moment. I will do it later. So I will just click on create. So now the VM is started getting create. Let's wait for some time. Here I have not created any VPC, or I have not done any network configuration. I allowed the VM to choose whatever the default VPC, right? So whenever we are creating a project, by default Google Cloud will create some default VPC, and it will allocate some firewall rules. If we want to see, let's try that as well meanwhile. So let me create a new project. I will give name as project C. I'll create it. The project C got created, so I am switching to project C. This is to just showcase how the default VPC is getting created during the project creation. So I'm going to enable the compute engine API. When it enable the compute engine API, it might ask for the billing account details, or it will take my default billing account. Let's see. Let me open a new tab. Let me go to project C. Yeah, you can see that the session or the API is got enabled. Let me close this window. So now in the project C, the API of compute engine got enabled. So it means that the billing also got enabled in between the process. And now what I will do is I will just search for VPC. So when the project got created, we can see that it created certain VPC as well. So this is done by Google Cloud by itself, and you can see that all are default. So this is a default VPC. got created, and respective components also got created while during the project creation. So now if I go to firewall, you can see that there are some default ICMP, internal RDP, SSH. These all firewalls also will be created during the project creation phase. So what I am trying to convey here is, whenever the project is getting created, by default there are some VPC, subnets and firewall rules are created. It's up to us, for an enterprise or for our customer, whether to use the default network or not. So maybe for the customer, we may not use this default network, we may delete all these networks, and then we will create as a custom VPC and custom network and custom firewall rules. So that we will do it later. As of now, for this lab, I am going to use Google Cloud default created VPC, subnet and firewall configuration. Only one custom rule I will add it as extra. So I'm just moving back to our original project, that is project D. Project C I created just for highlighting about the default VPC and network configurations created by Google Cloud. So now I am in project D. So here is what we are going to implement our web server. So we already created a server. Let me go to Compute Engine and VM instance. Here we can see that our server is up and running now. So what I am going to do is I will take an SSH session. So you would have seen that already there is a firewall rule configured. We saw that, right? So that rule will allow the SSH connection from the internet to this machine. That's why when I click SSH, it is allowing that connection. So network wise, firewall, there is already a default firewall rule which is working on SSH port. That is why it is allowing the network connection. And when the network connection is allowed, at this moment, Google Cloud might be creating a private and public key pair in the backend, and it will transfer the public key into an operating system specific path called authorized key. It will transfer that public key, and a private key also will be there, right? That private key will do a handshake with the public key, and then you are logged into the session. That's how we are into the session now. And let me browse to the path. Now we are into home below learn cloud 3, right? So now what I will do, I will switch to a path. So this is a Linux operating system path called .ssh, where all this key authentication and all will be saved. So now if I do an ls, you can see that there is a file called authorized keys, right? So let me open this authorized key file. So we can see that a public key got placed here. So this is happened when I clicked on the SSH session. Google Cloud generated the public and private key pair, and that public key is placed here. And there is a respective metadata entry also you can see from web 1. If I click on web 1, just find out the security or SSH key. Yeah. So here you can see the metadata. So right. So this is the metadata. This is the key information. What you are seeing here, right? Sorry. Metadata and key information will be saved inside Google Cloud Console under the section SSH keys. So if you see here, I'm just minimizing this page. Anyway, it is ending with RVON, right? So if you just see the last digits, it is something like RVON, and let us verify. Yeah, so it is matching, right? So what I mean to say is, The Google Cloud generated the public and private key pair, and that got saved inside your operating system under authorized key in this path under SSH. It got saved, and the metadata and the key information is there. You can view from the Google Cloud console as well, and the private key also is the private key along with the public key did some handshake, and finally we are into the SSH session now. To log in to your Google Cloud VM from your local laptop or desktop, we need a key pair first. So the key pair has to be generated, and the key pair will be having a public and private key, and the public key information we have to pass it inside this Google Cloud VM. So that is how we will be able to log into your Google Cloud VM from our local laptop or desktop. So first of all, we have to generate a key pair, right? So for Windows, we can use Puttigen kind of software to generate the key pair. So for the Linux or Mac, we can directly use this command to generate the key pair. So I'm just copying this command, and I'm just opening my terminal session. Then I am pasting this command, and we have to do little modification here. So basically, in what name my key file should be saved. So I am giving my name. So in this name, your key file will be saved, including your public and private key will be saved with the Sanoj, but one will be not having any extension. That key will be your private key, and another key name will be something like this, sanoj.pub. So that will be your public key. So these two key pair will be generated for whom I should give a username also, right? So that I am giving as Sanoj itself. And so for this username Sanoj, there will be two keys will be generated. One name will be sanoj.pub, and the private key name will be Sanoj. So I am just hitting enter. So I don't want to enter any passphrase. So just hitting enter again enter. So now it generated the key pair, but it generated on which path? It generated on .ssh path, right? So I will see my directory once, and I will switch to SSH. There you can list and see that it generated Sanoj. This is my private key, and this is my public key. So this is as this is a private key, this we have to keep it secure, and this public key I have to copy the content. So this is my public key content. I am just copying it, and I will pass this key information into this VM. Come and search for security and access, and under that there is an SSH key. Click on edit, sorry, and come down, click on add item, paste your public key content here, and then come down and click on save. So at this time, for it will be saving inside that authorized key path also, right? The same content will be saving inside that key that path, right? Authorized key path that we have seen earlier, right? So it might be saving over there. So now what will happen? I am just clicking on VM instance, and let me copy my public IP. And let me click on terminal. SSH-i. What is my private key name? It is Sanoj. And again, what is my username? Sanoj. at the rate my public IP, right, or external IP in Google Cloud, uh, and just hit on enter. Yeah, I am into my laptop. Sorry, I accessed the Google Cloud VM from my laptop now. Machine, I mean the web one, what we created in Google Cloud, and we accessed that machine from our laptop, and now I am into that session, right? So let me hit on present working directory. So we can see that there a path got created, and if you do an ls command, uh, sorry, you do switch to the .ssh path, then if you see, if you type ls, you can see here also there is an authorized key path, right? So this is your public key. So what is happening, so for each user, right, so for each user a profile got created, and there it is saving the public key information. The authorized key file is different for each user. So one for the Google Cloud, it was for the name, the username was with the name this one, right? So because I used this name to establish the SSH session. So if you see once again, let me click on SSH session. Here also you switch to the same path we have seen earlier, right? CD to SSH and ls. Here also you can see one authorized key, it generated by Google Cloud when we log into the machine first time, and then cat. So here also you can see one file, right? So what I mean to say is this authorized key, it's a different file for each profile. So one is created for this user, whatever you are seeing here, this user tried when I clicked on the SSH session. So ultimately for this user the profile got created, and we are able to log into that session, and that time there is a public key information also we can see in his profile. Similar way, when we created the key pair manually for our local desktop or laptop, that key file information we passed inside our Google Cloud security session as SSH3. I mean, here we have passed this information, and that key file you can see that now it started appearing into the authorized key path, right? So the same key got copied into this path. So that's why we are able to log into this machine. Session we will start installing our apache, and we will do certain configurations on apache. So these are the commands. So for always for the reference, this is the Google Cloud documentation. So I will paste this in the comments or somewhere. So I have to copy this apt install. So this will update our operating system, and the second command sudo apt install apache 2 will install the apache. So let me copy this command. So let me take my session, let me clear it. So I'm pasting this command. It will first update the operating system related binary source softwares, and then it will update the apache. And now it have installed the Apache, and it have updated the OS related binaries or packages, and then it updated the Apache. And now let's do one thing. Let's just configure this hello world text into the var ww html, and inside that index.html file. So let me copy this command to do that. So that is also done. Just run this command to see Apache is running or not, to just verify the things. Yeah, it is. You can see that it is up and running. Let me Control C and come out from it. Yeah. So now we have installed Apache on this machine, and let me do one thing. Let me go to this file path to see this hello world is got updated in the index.html file. So index.html is a file. So first let me switch to this html directory. So now if you see ls, there is a file called index.html, right? Just cat into index.html file. So here you can see that when we run this echo command, it returned hello world content into the index.html file. So now what we will do, we will try to access this web server, right? So we will try to access this web server from the internet. I am not able to access it, right? Because I have not configured any kind of firewall rule for HTTP. So as of now, as I said before, the firewall rule by default, it is taking from our default firewall rules. If you click this VM, if you come down to network interfaces, right, and if you click on view detail, so as I said, we are not created any VPC. We are all using the default VPC subnet and firewall rule created by Google Cloud. So there you can see the firewall, it is taking the default VPC firewall, it is taking. So which are the default VPC firewall? ICMP, SSH, RDP and internal. So let me hit on default SSH. So here what this firewall rule, when the project built, this firewall rule is also got created, and that is applicable to this VM as we use our default VPC network. And what it is telling, from all 000, it is allowing the traffic, I mean from the internet it is allowing all the traffic to the respective port 22. This is our SSH port, right? That is why without doing any firewall configuration, I am able to SSH from my laptop, and I am able to do SSH from Google Cloud Console as well. But at the same time, even though Apache web server is running, I am unable to open this, right? The reason is that firewall rule, it is not there in the default rule, right? So ICMP is there, internal is there, RDP is there, SSH is there, but HTTP firewall rule is not there, right? So now I am going to create a firewall rule separately. HTTP web, I will say, and I will not do anything. Let's give all the default options. So specified target tag I will give here as specified target tag, and I will give it as web name. And what are the IP ranges? 0.0.0.0/0 from anywhere I want to allow to this port 80, right? So I will click on TCP, and let me give the port number as 80. So this is what we have to do. The firewall tag we have given as web. So then click on create. Now it created the firewall, right? So if you guys remember, I have given a target tag as web, right? So let the creation get complete. So the target tag is web, right? So what I will do, I will come back to my VM machine. I will come back to my VM instance. I will hit on this machine and then I will click on edit. When I clicked on edit, come down and we can see firewall, right? We have to search for the firewall. Network tags in the firewall section. I would have directly clicked on this allow HTTP traffic, then it will create a firewall rule. But in this scenario, what I did is I did not enable this checkbox. Instead, I manually created the firewall rule for HTTP. In either way, it is creating a rule inside this firewall console, right? I mean, in the firewall, it is creating that rule. So here this first, second, third, fourth, the default are the default firewall rules created, and this is the one I manually created, right? So if you see, I given a target tag as web also. So what this web I will copy and I will give it as this one, so that it will identify the firewall rule and it will allow the traffic from 0.0.0.0, I mean from the internet to the port 80 or HTTP port, right? So it will allow that traffic. That is what we defined here. Allow the traffic from internet to TCP port 80. So now it is saving the configurations. Yeah. So now let me refresh the page. You can see the web page is working, our Apache is working. Do is we will little automate these steps so far we done using some startup script for configuring the Apache. So what I will do, I will create a new instance this time. So I'm clicking on create instance and then I am clicking I am giving a name web-2. And so normally for the companies, always we have to provide the labels, right? So labels will help you to segregate your resources based on department or based on environment like development, test or production, and business units. So all this information can be provided here, so it will help you to segregate the billing and some kind of segregation. Maybe if you are doing patching or certain activities also, you can segregate your resource, or maybe for the billing purpose also you can segregate the resources, right? So now I am clicking on add label and let me give it as name as web, and let me click on add label, and here environment I will give it as development I am giving, and then click on edit again, and business unit as HR, and business unit I will just simplify it into BU I am giving. So let me change into BU HR, and yeah, these are the main tags what we can provide: name, environment, business unit, and something department. Something. So these are the main category what I have seen. So let me save and then instead of firewall, so firewall, we already have the firewall, right? So what I am going to do is I will select my web firewall, because already we have created, so the same firewall I am going to utilize here. So click on advanced option under networking, so provide that network tab. Our network tag was web. I provided the same firewall tag so that it will take the firewall configuration from that firewall rule. And then what I have to do is click on the management tab. Here what I will do, I will just pass on my all the scripts in the startup script, right? So let me collect those scripts one by one. So let me copy this first. Let me provide all those things here. So yeah, two commands I provided, and then the third one as well. So the startup script, what it will do during the OS creation time, when the things coming up, right? So it will run this script and it will install. Earlier we have done one by one by logging into the SSH session, and we have run the command one by one. Instead of that, now we have provided all those commands in the startup script, so that when the VM is coming up, your Apache will be installed and your web page will be started running. So let me click on create. Yeah, our system came up. Yes, your machine is up and running, as well as your web server and web page is up and running. So now now we have accessed this machine from the internet. So why? Because for the internet, if the machine want to access, then we have to use our external IP, not the internal IP. Internal IP, it will only work within the Google Cloud network, not from the outside network. In my case, we are accessing it from internet, so I need always provide external IP. So there are scenarios like maybe this internal IP, maybe it will work from your laptop or machine. If your laptop, or if your local network, if it is connected to the VPN, and if it is able to if it's already have some established hybrid connectivity model from on-premise to cloud, and if your laptop belongs to VPN, and if you're already in the local network of the company, then maybe you can SSH into the private IP as well. So otherwise we will always have to use external IP.